It's time for a vacation, and Fairway Travels is here to share great specials for you to choose from. Discover the charm and features of one of Sandals' 16 all-inclusive, luxury-included, adults-only resorts, or a family-friendly beaches destination in the Caribbean. Or how about a couples resort in Jamaica? If cruising's your preference, get Thunderstroke aboard Carnival Cruise Lines or set sail on an award-winning Royal Caribbean ship. Join Virgin Voyages now for a wonderful adults-only sailing. It doesn't matter if you choose to travel by plane, train, automobile, cruise ship, or rowboat, we can help you reach your dream destination. Contact Fairway Travels today at 228-365-1012. That's 228-365-1012. Or email bookitnow247@gmail.com. Fairway Travels, where your journeys keep satisfying.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome to the Motivated Mindset with your host, me, José Flores, and we are going to go into the why behind what we do in life. Have you ever wondered what truly drives people? I know I do. What fuels their purpose and motivation? In this podcast, we're going to explore those profound questions, uncovering the stories and insights that shape our journeys. Join me as we navigate in the depths of human ambition and uncover the secrets to living a fulfilled life, purpose, and driven. Let's get motivated. Thank you. ¿Qué pasa, mi gente? Welcome to the Motivated Mindset. I'm your host, José Flores, a proud Latino born in New York City, straight out of the Bronx. How you doing? Raised in Brooklyn, that New York flavor, that hustle, that grit. You know what I'm saying? Look, I'm a combat veteran who served 30 years in the United States Army. I know, right? What's up? And before we get rolling, I want to send a big salute to all my veterans, my first responders out there. Much respect. Mucho amor. You already know, these days I wear a couple of different hats. You know what I'm saying? I'm a motivated speaker. Thank you very much. You've been working out. Hey, a certified personal trainer, a certified mediator, and yes, even an end-of-life death doula. Every role I play, every role I take comes down to one thing, helping people find out their why. Live with purpose. Push through life's battle. Con corazón, with heart. And more importantly, with faith. This podcast, The Motivated Mindset, is here where we talk about resilience, optimism, discipline, and culture. We dive deep into that fire that it takes to keep moving forward. When life tries to knock you down, we keep it real. New York City real. Straight talk, Bronx humor, no sugarcoating up in here. This is a space where you get fired up, where you laugh a little, where you might even shed a tear. ¿Qué pasa? ¿Está llorando? All right, then. But most of all, you leave here stronger than when you press that play button. Because here, it's not just about motivation. It's about transformation. Now listen, today's episode, Caliente Fuego, is something special. We're talking about legacy, passion, purpose, and the kind of love that gets passed down through generation. I'm talking about the kind of story that reminds you that greatness can start right at home, right in your family, in la cocina, in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? Because today we are honored to have a powerhouse. You know what I'm saying? An innovator, a creator of sweetness and success, the founder and CEO of ShidaSweets, Dr. Rashida Johnson. Her journey began with her family treasure. You know what I'm saying? A legendary 7-Up pound cake baked by her great aunt, Isabel, who blessed her family with amor, love, flavor, and joy well into her 80s. When Aunt Isabel passed at 90, that receipt disappeared. Dr. Johnson stepped into la cocina with nothing but memory, corazón, and determined what started as a tribute, mi gente, how you doing, turned into a passion. The passion became a purpose, and that purpose grew into a business. ShidaSweets was born from legacy, built con amor, love, and elevated by pure resilience. So grab your headphones, if you have them, grab your mindset and get ready, because we're diving into a story that's inspiring, uplifting, and straight delicioso. That means delicious in Spanish. In every way, Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Rashida Johnson. Want to welcome him to our show. Give me a moment. Let's do.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Wow, welcome, Rashida.
Hello.
How are you? First of all,
I am well. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Oh, did I pronounce everything right? I know I got some
You
issues.
did.
All right. Okay,
You did.
'cause I'm working through things, but I'm gonna get it. No, but thank you so much for being on my podcast. And for people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you from.
Sure. I'm Rashida Johnson. I am originally from Pennsylvania, born and raised there. I am in the DMV now, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, for those who aren't aware. And my journey actually begins with a science background. I have a science background, morphed into public health, a lot of different like leadership positions. But certainly where my baking passion comes from is family.
Yes.
So I've been, baking for years, many years. I started baking probably in earnest when I went away to school. So I spent, for the audience, I spent many years in school. So I have an undergraduate degree, have a master's degree and a PhD. So I was in school for 10 years straight. And when I was in school, that's when I had to start learning how to cook for myself.
Right.
When I went to got my bachelor's degree at University of Maryland, and while I was there, my last 2 years, I lived in an apartment and I had a kitchen. And I didn't have a meal plan anymore. So I had to start figuring stuff out. Me and my roommates, several of whom I'm still friends with to this day, we started playing around there.
Okay.
Then it got real with the cooking when I moved to St. Louis to get my master's degree, because then it was just apartment only, no school-based meal plan to buffer. Like I had to start figuring it out.
Right.
But the other thing with respect to cooking, and in particular baking, food is a way to connect people.
Okay.
And when I got my master's degree in St. Louis, I moved to St. Louis, Missouri. I didn't know anybody there. And so my friends, my classmates, they really became like my family. We had a great group of people. And so I had one of my first get-togethers in my apartment in St. Louis, where my friends from school there, and I had a dessert party.
Okay.
And it was at that party, I first reached out to my grandmother, and said, so I have two grandmoms. I had who are wonderful people. And so I'm going to invite you guys into my family. So my maternal grandmother is Mum. I was like, I'm going to say that. I'm going to call her Mum. And when I get to my paternal grandma, she's amazing. She was amazing as well. That was my nanny. So I was like, I can't see like grandmother's like that was
right.
Yeah, so Mum, I called her and I said, Mum, how do you make that apple pie?
Yeah.
And so every year for my birthday, she would make me an apple pie. And she would call, I get a call and she's like, Rashida, I got something for you. And, my grandmother, she was a single parent. She had 7 kids, a bunch of grandkids. So, she was not the grandmom who was like, shelling out a lot of money for gifts.
Right.
Like that just wasn't what it was. And that's okay. And I was like, but where she certainly showed her love was in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And so I'd get that call and I was like, wait, I got to go to Mom. She got my pie. So I called her and I said, how do I make the pie? I don't understand. I don't make the pie. And so she wrote me, and I have like in my, she gave me this little book years ago, and I have all these little recipes from her. It was like a book, and I have like, and she wrote out, like, this is what you do, and she explained it to me. And so that's really where it started, like with me from the baking perspective, making desserts that connected me to memories,
Right.
and just some of her handwritten notes. And what I recall from that at that party was my friends really connecting with that. They're like, oh my gosh, this was so good. And I said, like the love that you put into, that I put into making it, I was like,
Right.
I channeled that from my mom. And people find, and I remember people like that being a takeaway. So
Yeah.
that was some of my, first experiences in terms of me baking, making then the connection of baking with memories and also legacy. And it continued. I moved to Pittsburgh. I got my PhD in epidemiology from the University of Pittsburgh.
Wow.
And when I was there, I, had more of a network, different group of people. But so I have been extremely blessed where, I've moved to places for my career, for school, where I didn't really know people, but just God just opened up doors for me to just make some wonderful connections. People that I'm friends with to this day. Decades later. And so when I was in, Pittsburgh, I would host gatherings. I would host Thanksgiving, and I said, hey, because everybody couldn't go, we couldn't always go home.
Right.
So people would come by. And then we do a potluck, and I had food, but I always had dessert. And I remember when I was in Pittsburgh making a lemon pound cake for the first time. And one of my friends came up, she's like, Rashida, she's like, this reminds me of like the ladies from my church who make like this. And I said, oh, okay, like, and to me, like, those are the times when I was like, wait, I made it.
Yes.
And I share, and it was so good. Like, I shared the recipe, and I have another friend who like shared it with her family, like it became like a repeat request, for her, like that recipe, over the years. So, the throughout my life, I have always made a connection with food and memory, bringing people together, and just that, that feeling that you get when a food reminds you of a taste from when you were younger, or like a family gathering. And so that has, really been like, the foundation for me, leading up to, moving closer towards, like ShidaSweets. But, I am always the person who would bring, if we have potluck, I'm always bringing a baked good. I'm bringing something. It wasn't always pound cake. It was something. And I was like, I like sweets, but I like the joy that, like that little sweet thing brings to,
And Rashida, you were right. Food brings people together, because I remember my grandmother making plátanos, and every time I see plátano, it brings me a smile to my face, because that's why I first got introduced to that, and I can say, my people, that I have tasted the cake she made. It is stupendous, muy bueno. Oh my God! So I know I'm gonna get to the pictures in a little bit, but it was really good. But I remember when you talked about living in an apartment when I was in Korea. All I had was a George Foreman. Remember when those came out?
I do.
That was my kitchen, so I can relate to when you're in a small place, But what we're going to do when we come back, we're going to take a small break. When we come back, I want to talk about what made her 7-Up pound cake so special to your family. I really want to get into that when we come back from this break. So stay tuned. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have any comments, any questions, please post them and we'll ask Miss Rashid. Thank you. Let's go to a quick break. All right. Let me see.
Hombre muerto.
Dead man. 10 years hard time for something I didn't do. You've been living on easy street. Now justice coming to you. You're a dead man. You're a dead man walking. 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 Justice coming. Justice coming for you. You can try to hide from your fate. Run as fast as you can. Don't wait, don't hesitate. You see, you're just a dead man. Oh, dead man walking. You cannot run. You know you just can't hide. Run out for hell, I'll hunt you down. Nowhere for you to reside. You're a dead man. You're just a dead man walking. Oh, hey. Dead man walking. 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 Justice coming. Justice coming for you. Hey. You're a dead man. Dead man walking. Dead man walking. Dead man walking. Dead man walking.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Okay, I already got some questions coming up already, and you know, one of them is from Yvette, your girl Yvette, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
Right before we broke, Rashida, I asked what is it that made that 7-Up pound cake so special to your family?
So, Aunt Isabel's 7-Up cake. First, and I didn't even know, it was years before I actually knew it was a 7-Up cake. I just call it Aunt Isabel's cake. It was moist, it was delicious. It was a tall pound cake, which I have learned is called a mile high.
No, I got you.
It didn't have and it was the perfect amount of sweetness. It was moist. It could, it was the perfect complement to any meal, and it didn't have any icing on it. She just topped it with some powdered sugar, and it was amazing. And people, would like from all families, like both sides of my families, like people in the community knew about Aunt Isabel's pound cake. People were talking about it, when we had her, her funeral. I remember at the repast, like someone saying like, what are we going to do with her cake? I was like, not a family member, but someone else. So, it definitely left that legacy, but it just, it would like melt in your mouth, but it was just, it was delicious. And she would make it. And again, she was baking until she was 88, sending like multiple cakes. But no one had the recipe, and she didn't want to share the recipe. And so, we had to, just be grateful when she brought the cake. And then, unfortunately, her health took a really quick turn. So she was living on her own until she was 88. So like, she was baking these cakes in her own apartment where she lived by herself.
Wow.
Until she was 88. And, things just happened really quickly. Cause I said, wow, it's like, I would even wanted her, the cake pan. Like that. I would have appreciated that.
Right.
But, I started, baking pound cakes, in honor of her. I was like, I I wanted to see if I can replicate this recipe.
Right.
And I came really close. Like I said, what? I was like, this tastes like it. I was like, this is good. I was like, but I still feel like there's probably like something, like some pinch of something she puts in.
Right. There was I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. But I am, I was like, but I feel comfortable with what I've gotten,
Okay. Well, you got some comments. Mr. Edward Johnson says he loves it, loves your thing. And then we have somebody that says, we love your cakes.
Yay.
And we got another one from, I think it's Mary. Says, Mary Rosary says, so proud of you. Great shows, the lover and the promoter of your pound cakes and your infinite wisdom. Wow. And we have a question. We have a question that you can answer. Here we go. And this is from, it says, hello, Rashida. What is your favorite thing to bake and why? From Yvette.
Okay. Hi, Yvette. All right. So my favorite thing to bake, I would say is pound cake. I get a lot of requests for brownies because I make good brownies. But people request them. But as I have grown in the business, and so I started out just with the purpose of trying to replicate my Aunt Isabel's cake. But then I started baking other pound cakes. Then I realized that I was like, I really enjoy like this process. I take my time. Like I use like high quality ingredients. And so then I started trying and experimenting with other recipes. And so it's like, I joined like some like there are pound cake communities. I did not know this, but I learned. So iron sharpens iron. So I was like getting tips. I'm like, I'm trying different things. I'm like, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try this. Like they say, do this, and your cake will come out better.
Right.
And so over time, I really began to. I love baking pound cakes. So that is my favorite thing to do.
And somebody asked, delicious. Love my special lemon lime cake.
Yes. So I have a very special customer, mother-in-love, who I make her a special key lime pound cake. That it's not regularly on my menu, but it is. I make it just for her.
Right. Wow. And I know you talked a little about this, but I know there was a lot of was there a lot of trial and error? A lot of taste testers. I don't know, but like, hey, I want to
taste. Absolutely. So a lot of trial and error, taste tests. So thank you to my family and friends who were eating cake. And actually, that's how ShidaSweets. The way you made the connection earlier about just like, purpose, passion, and then ultimately moving into business. So, I didn't start out with the intention of having a pound cake business. I started out just baking cakes.
Yeah.
And then I was baking them. I was like, well, I need to share these. Like, my husband and I was like, we cannot eat all this cake. And I like to share, and I like to share it.
Yes, yes.
But as I was, baking, and I liked doing it, and I always had so much cake, and I was like, I think I'm gonna turn this into a business. I can turn like this. I could see this. I was like, I have a passion for this. Something I enjoy doing. I believe it's something I can monetize. As like, well, as a minimum, like
Right.
cover costs. And then it just, it grew from there. And I really started making investments in like equipment. So I have like I got a stand mixer. I have, I got some really good pans. And I'm really intentional about the ingredients that I use. So because when I bake a cake for someone, it's important to me. Like I want people to, again, have that feeling like, wow, this is delicious. I take it very seriously that someone has selected me and my cake to be a part of whatever their occasion is. Like maybe it is a party, maybe it's a holiday, maybe it could be a repast. I mean, and maybe they just wanted to share with their family, like on their kitchen table on a Tuesday. But I do take that very, very seriously. And so I work, I'm very integral about what I do and the process that I follow. And there have been times where I was like, I made a cake and I was like, you know what? This didn't come out the way I wanted it to, and I'll do it again. So like, I don't, pass off, it doesn't happen often, but I was like, I don't pass off things that I'm not proud of, and I wouldn't want to serve, or I wouldn't want people to be like, wow, this is really good. So
you treat it like you're serving your family, your customers. They are your family.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I take my time, when for pound cakers know your ingredients got to be at the right temperature.
Right.
And I take my time with that.
Yeah.
I just throughout this process, I also, again, and you have to learn and hone your craft. So I got my food handler's license, and I was like, well, I'm going to be making. I was like, I need to get my food handler's license. And I did. And I was like, and I looked into, when I give someone a cake that they purchase from me, like what's the best packaging for it? Because I don't want the cake to dry out. So what should I do? So I was really intentional about, all aspects of the product and engaging with my customers.
Wow. That is stupendous. And we have another question here.
Okay.
If you could bake for anyone in the world, who would it be and what would you bake?
Okay, so I'm gonna do this in two parts. I'm gonna take some creative license here. So I would say, posthumously, I would love to bake a pie for my grandmother and be like, you know what, I got it.
Yeah,
I got it. And I would say if I could bake for anyone in the world, who would it be and what would I bake? If someone who's, currently, I love baking for my family and friends.
Okay.
But I would, love to bake for maybe someone who was like indigent, right? Like somebody who can't really get out, or somebody who was like in a nursing home, and just some way that baking for someone who could really experience like the joy and really value and just be able to take something from it. So I don't necessarily have like a name of someone, but I would do that. I have not expanded into this area yet, but I was like, I would love to do more and coordinate with people who have like repasts, because I always felt like when when you're at a repast, that's often a time when, you want some like comforting food, or food, can evoke, a memory.
Yes.
And so that's another, like space. So that, that's the way I would answer that. Like, there's not necessarily
Yeah.
like a person.
Mhm.
And now I love the Food Network. I love baking championships. I mean, I love, if I had a celebrity, I like Cartier Brown. I'm like,
Okay.
I'm
Hey,
like, hey cousin, like, what do you like? She said, like, hey cousin, you like my
I think that's stupendous. That is, oh my God. Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be. We have another comment that they said, I love your sweet potato pound cake. It's so moist and flavorful.
Oh, thank you.
From Dean Mitchell. Yeah.
Dina, thank you, Dina.
That is stupendous. So we're going to take our last break. And when we come back, one of the things I want to talk about is, how did you come up with your name, and what does it mean to you? And then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes. And we got some pictures, people. I know when I saw them, I got so hungry, but I'm going to start with something else. So we're going to take our last break and then we'll come back.
Okay.
It's the guts and it's the glory. 100 stripes, 100 stories. It's the Pledge of Allegiance on the 4th of July. It's them handwritten letters from home. It's them sleepless nights alone. It's his newborn baby he left with his wife. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, here's a line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Hey. From the fields of Indiana to the swamps of Louisiana, to the golden coast of California, Uncle Sam's the only family he's got. His purple heartbeat won't stop, and his 18th birthday was the day he was born. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, here's a line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, stand on the front line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, pay the ultimate price. Oh. He was the man of the house when he was born. His family is proud but torn. But if you knew him, you would understand. He was raised on how to be brave, just to see the flag still wave. And then he came home with only one hand. 'Cause Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down here to lie. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, stand on these front lines. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, he'll pay the ultimate price. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down his life. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. March in line, march in line. Hey. Hey.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.com.
Welcome back. Hoorah. All right. Every time I hear that song, I get motivated. I'm sorry. I just get, if I had hair. But anyway, we won't go into that. But welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And we left off on how you came up with the name and why it means to you.
Yeah. So the Shida part is the last part of my name. Rashida is my first name, Shida. And then the sweets, ShidaSweets. So it wasn't, I had heard it, at one point, or talked about it with talk about like some of my desserts informally. And then I decided to you know what, this would be a good business name. So ShidaSweets is my second business. I have another consulting firm called Wisdom Builds. So, I started my entrepreneurial journey several years ago. And so, I do consulting with change management, leadership development, and so on. But for ShidaSweets, I really also wanted it to be a little more personal in terms of the business name, because of, again, what I pour into it. I mean, I pour into both of my businesses. I was like, but ShidaSweets is just the connection to legacy. It's a little bit different. So
oh man, you are getting a lot of love. You're getting a lot of love, Rashida. Everyone in the family loves your cakes. Mom, Dad, Chanel, D, and Amari.
Oh, thank you, family. Yes.
That is stupendous. That is stupendous. And we have another one that says, that is beautiful. It's totally you. It is totally you, from Mary Rosary, I think they say.
Rory. It says Rory. Okay.
Right. Yeah. And I got a question. This was texted to me. It says, what's one ingredient, and it just came up now, is what's one ingredient that you can't live without in your kitchen?
Oh, butter.
Butter. Wow.
Yeah. There's look, my cakes, they are delicious. They are a treat. But I go for it. So they are not, skinny girl cakes. Everything in moderation, but
it is. Even too much water is not good for you, right? Right. I mean, you're right. Everything is moderation. We have another question, and someone says, what are the biggest challenges of running a baking business?
So one, you certainly, there's a lot of variables, right? There's variables with respect to cost and cost management. So, if the price of ingredients goes up, how does that impact, your pricing and, and your bottom line? There are a lot of pieces to it. So there's packaging that you can be there's marketing and so there's a lot of components that are involved in baking when you have a product like that. That's very different from if you're doing consulting. So when I do consulting, I might have some resources from my clients, but my intellectual property is the main commodity versus, there are other things with respect to a baking business. So, making sure you're, keeping your client base up. And, there's little things I was, in the middle of baking a cake and our power went out. There's things that you don't think about. It's so there's a lot, again, there's a lot of variables that go into, or, sometimes sourcing the right ingredients. So, in the summer, I have a strawberry pound cake. It's delicious, favorite of folks, but I got to get good strawberries. And if I get an order, sometimes I'll have to go to different places if I go, because if I go someplace and I'm I don't like the way these strawberries look, and if I don't quality in, quality out, you heard it before, junk in, junk out. So I use high quality vanilla. I do not use the store brand. I don't. Right. You have to make sure you have these things, and then just, so I think it's all of the variables that go into baking. And then you have to, in getting down your process. So I know how my ovens bake.
Yes, ma'am.
It is not the same. I know it's not the same as me going someplace else. So, you're having, you can have an, oven thermometer, but still, like, there's just little nuanced things that, there are a lot of variables that you have to control and know that, if something changes, then like, what is the potential impact of that?
Absolutely. And I think this next question goes in line with some of the things you just finished talking about. Have you ever had a disaster bake that turned into a learning moment?
Yes. So I experimented using a different flour. So flours are different.
Wow.
I
didn't know that.
Yes. All
Wow.
flour is not the same. And so I used a different flour, and my cake did not turn out right.
Okay.
And so I was like, I can't use this. But I will say that even in those moments, I was like, you know what? I learned something. And so I know what to do, I experimented, what worked, what didn't work. And then even at the end of the day, like, it wasn't something that I would share with someone, but it still tasted good.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things that I love about baking is that there are so many learning moments. So, for example, just being able to, like, being flexible, like being able to pivot, like, what are you, like, learning about process, like the science in baking, I have a science background, but, like, why, like, what's this chemistry that's going on?
Right.
You're looking at like my batters and stuff like that. And so and even just thinking about, like, the principles of what makes a good bake and how that applies to other parts of your life. So there are a lot of learning moments, and just even, moments, of myself, over endurance and things of that nature. So yeah.
Okay. Wait, can we do picture time now?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. And I will let you take it away from me and explain what we got.
So these are actually two pictures of my sweet potato pound cake. And so my sweet potato pound cake starts with fresh sweet potatoes that I roast off and, incorporate them into my cake. And I finish it with a honey butter glaze. And so it's a special glaze, that gets cooked on the stove with honey and, of course, more butter. I told you butter is the most important thing. I was like, I can't do without the butter. And then that's how I finished the cake. This is the packaging. So I have these cake containers so that they keep the cake will not dry out. I have, like, cake boards that have a coating of, like, of course, food grade, like food, so that it's my cake boards don't suck the moisture out of your cake, because I've had that experience where I've had cakes that come in like cake boxes, and I felt like a cake box, like they dry your cake out. And all my cakes, of course, have the the ingredients and QR, there's the QR code and a website and things like, so you can contact me.
Yes. Okay.
And this is my pumpkin cake, my pumpkin pound cake. And this is a seasonal flavor. And it is finished with a very luxurious cream cheese icing. Now, not everybody likes pumpkin. And so there's, some people love sweet potatoes, some people like but it's, but I will say with this pumpkin cake, when I wanted to have like a seasonal flavor, for the holiday and for the fall. And so, I tried out some recipes, and I shared this with people who do not like pumpkin per se. And everybody said, oh, this is a really good cake. And so it's a pumpkin cake, but it probably reminds you a little bit of like a carrot cake without the carrot. But it's a good cake. So, but yes, this is my pumpkin cake. ShidaSweets logo.
Yes.
Cream cheese icing. So yeah.
And I know people, if they're like me, I'm getting hungry. So what if they wanted to order one? How would they do it?
Go to my website, ShidaSweets.com. You can shoot me an email at ShidaSweetsBakes@gmail, but the best way is to go onto my website. I have my menu and order form on the site. And also follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. So I post information, about my bakes and just the things on my menu and just little tidbits. So please do follow me if you're not doing so already.
Yes, and ladies and gentlemen, there's a QR code. There's her website right there. So please use your phone. Hey, and that's the best way to get a hold of her. You got various ways. Everything's on the way. It's a really nice website. Every time I look at it, I get hungry. So I wanted to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to please support. We support each other here, and not only that, but it's really good because I've had a taste of the cake that you bring at Christie's and so on. And do you have anything coming up special?
Yes. So today is if you have a holiday order for Thanksgiving, please get it in today. Or no, tomorrow. Excuse me, tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, tomorrow. So I make sure I have enough quantities for everybody.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
Yeah, so this is my special Thanksgiving holiday menu. So pumpkin, you saw that. Sweet potato. I have a brown sugar with maple. That cake is delicious. And if you a lot of people say it reminds them of like a pancake, but like a cake, but it's but in a very delicious and unctuous way. Yes. And then Southern butter. So my Southern butter is this is my top seller.
Okay.
So sweet potato is like number 2. But the Southern butter is one of those cakes where I often get someone telling me like it just like that it definitely evokes a memory. And so that's what you had at the curly hair crisis event.
Yes,
that event. So I met Jose at an event, actually my first event where I was providing dessert, and I brought Southern butter, and then I did a 7-Up.
Yes.
7-Up cake for that. But so Southern butter is certainly my top seller.
That is so cool, beans. And we got a couple of questions, and someone asks, which 3 baked goods are your best sellers? Which 3?
So Southern butter is my best seller. Sweet potato is under that. And my lemon pound cake is also very popular. I do not have that as a holiday flavor, but it's popular.
Okay, hey, and we got a question. We got one here that says, if you had to bake blindfold, what's the one thing you still nail?
I had to bake blindfold. Cream in my butter and sugar, because I can, cream in the butter and sugar.
Okay.
Because I can, I'd have to have a little spoon, but I can hear it as they start to incorporate in the air, and you're whipping air into the bowl. So I can hear when it's ready, and then I could feel it too. So if I could hear it, and then I could feel it, and I put I had a little spoon and put some. I was like, I'd be ready. I could do that.
Okay, and Rashida, there's also a number they can call. It's on there. If they can call it into. If somebody needed to,
they can call. The best way is definitely my website, because then once you can see what my options are. You can say when you
Mhm.
want to pick it up and or when we record it, when you want to have it ready. But yeah, but you can
Okay.
reach me in both ways.
Absolutely. And I have a question for somebody who's watching, for those who have a dream sitting inside them, that a passion they haven't explored yet. What's your message to somebody out there that wants to do something similar or a business of any type?
So, okay. Um, if you are interested in starting a business, I would first of all, it should be something that you have a passion about. So, your where purpose meets passion for this podcast is so is so important. It has to be something that you have a passion for, but it also has to be something that you're willing to work at. There are plenty of people who have good ideas, but no follow through. And so there's a work that's behind this as well. And so, we all have gifts and talents. It's like, but there's some work that goes behind it. And so you have to do your due diligence. So you need to do your research. You need to make investments, like time investments. You need to get to a point where you might be able to need to make some monetary investments just to get yourself, off the ground. And you need to use wisdom in that because you don't want to, overextend yourself too soon. And so, as I said in my other hat with Wisdom Builds, I'm a strategic planner, and so I think in strategy. So, I am a huge fan of creating strategic plans, implementing those plans, looking at resources, and being very, methodical and having order. So you want to, you have a passion for something. And so you want to keep that passion, and you don't want to get discouraged because things don't necessarily work out. But if you are, very intentional about, making the investment to support that passion, and using wisdom around that, then I think you can be successful. You can absolutely be successful.
And I know I have a question. What legacy do you hope to build through your company, for your family, for the world as you move forward? Yeah.
Well, okay, so from a legacy perspective, I will share this. So I have a niece and a nephew, whom I love dearly, and so they love my brownies. And my nephew actually doesn't like cake. He's never liked cake, but that's so I will always make brownies for him. So I will always make brownies for him. My niece, she likes brownies too. And there's like a 10-year difference. But with my niece, I started baking brownies with her.
Okay.
And so from a legacy perspective, for this business, and I would say this for anyone, like inviting that next generation to come in with you. I love my Aunt Isabel dearly. I wish she would have like invited us in. You know what I mean? Like, so you know what I mean? I think there was always like, oh no, this is my recipe. Like, I don't want nobody else showing up to the church with my stuff. Like, I get it, but it's like so from a legacy perspective, invite the next generation in. And so that is what that's one thing I want to be able to do. And through like familial like mentorship. I'm a huge proponent of mentorship. So I also think that I want to with my pound cakes. I want to leave a lasting memory. So, or I say where taste meets tradition, and a taste to remember, like that is what I want people to come away with. So like, I always want to remain like authentic to that. So, this cake is not going to taste like the cake that you get in Costco. It's just not. It's not. I think that's not what I want. And so as part of that legacy, like I want to remain authentic to that. Like I want people to have connections to food, growing in those memories, growing up. And I chose pound cake because I love to bake. But I have many women in my family who, had like their signature dish. I had 3 family members who made potato salad my my nanny. That's my paternal grandmom. So I told you, like, I'm gonna invite y'all in. My nanny, my Aunt Linda,
Right.
My other aunt, or GB, her real name is Barbara. Like, they all made this like delicious potato salad, and I don't know how to make it. I mean, I've tried. It's very labor intensive, but that was, it's like, so when I think about food and legacy, dessert is my niche and pound cake is my niche, but it evokes those memories and those memories of family. And so, and I also say, when you think about legacy, it's yours. And so it doesn't have to be someone else's. And so however you craft that for you, that's what it should be. And so make it your own unique stamp and just be authentic with it.
So my last question as we close up, what's next for ShidaSweets? Any new flavors, any new projects as you move forward?
Yes. So we're still in holiday season. So actually, this is my first holiday season with ShidaSweets. So I started ShidaSweets in 2024, but in 2025 was when I really business like really picked up, and I really started getting a lot more clients and stuff. So this is my first holiday season. So so we're getting through Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And then I have like Christmas and winter holidays. And so I'm going to be announcing probably a new flavor for that, after at least one new flavor after
Absolutely.
After Thanksgiving, and then just continuing to like network, build.
Oh, Rashida, keep shining your light. You are making a difference. I know in the world. It's going to be there for people once they taste what you have to provide. And I would say, ladies and gentlemen, share this information. Let's support one another. And you have just dropped so much golden nuggets, information, especially for our young people that may be watching, or anybody, So I just want to say thank you for what you're doing. And is there any last words or anything I may have not covered that you would like to say?
I mean, I just want to thank you for this opportunity to be on your podcast and allow me to share my story, share information about ShidaSweets, but really my connection to it, because that's my why. And so, and I was, want to thank, my, family and friends who have tuned in, the other viewers. And so, I hope that, they're like I believe that everyone has a journey, everyone has a legacy, everyone has a passion they can build on, and something that they can share, and something and a gifting that they can share. And so I'm hoping that this piece of what I've shared, and again, like, I in the beginning I told you about like my professional training, right?
Right.
I did not talk about any of that here. I did not talk about.
Well, look,
my point is that there's ways, but my point is that we all have something, like there's like a passion, or there's something that you have to share that might not be in like that traditional vein of like, oh, I went to school for this, or oh, I've had this, blah, blah, blah. It could be something else, and go for it.
Absolutely.
Go for it with integrity.
Absolutely. And you're coming back on the show anyway.
Okay.
We're going to have you back. I want to say thank you to everybody. Subscribe to the channel, as we got so many things. You're getting so many accolades. Proud of you, amazing opportunities. So, I just want to say thank you, ladies and gentlemen, everybody that's been here. And thank you, Rashid. And have a blessed weekend, and continue doing what you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yay.
Justice Jackson, they captured Herman Goring alive.
Tell me about him.
He's the face of the Nazis. I'm gonna put Goring on trial.
Never escapes the hangman's noose. Very sure of yourself. No man has ever beaten me.
Goring has to fall.
You don't just have to win, you have to be flawless.
You're walking into a trap.
Knowing what we know now, would you still follow Adolf Hitler?
Nuremberg, rated PG-13, now playing only in theaters.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.